Hello and welcome to Don't Be a Kook, the podcast with myself, Laura Crane. This podcast is all about allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, which is why I ask each guest what their number one life fail is, or in surfing terms, their number one kook moment. I want to know how they came back from those tough moments and what they learnt along the way. So with a light heart and no filter, welcome to Don't Be a Kook, the podcast. Today's guest is one of the biggest driving forces in women's sport. She's won 3 Champions League titles, 3 Women's Super League titles, and the Euros in 22 with England. Named the best player in the world, it's Lucy Bronze. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. And all my tech fails. This is like the second time we start this now, so peak, but we're getting there.
We're getting there.
So I ask everybody this in the podcast, and it is, what is your kookiest life moment?
Yeah, I mean, you messaged yesterday saying you're going to ask this question, and I was thinking about it all day and all day today. And there's so many moments I think, oh, I wish that maybe went a different way, but then I'm glad it didn't, because I wouldn't be where I am now. I think I'm fit and healthy. My family are fit and healthy. There's not many things that, things go wrong in football and life, but I guess it just takes you down a different route.
I love that. That is true. I guess every hurdle makes you who you are, and yeah, it's definitely made you strong, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, in the time when bad moments happen to you, you think, oh God, but now I'm like, where would I have ended up if those things didn't happen to me? So I live in Barcelona now. Can't complain too much.
Yeah, it's true. It is terrible here. I'm in London for only like a few days, and the weather has been terrible the whole time. But I think like the first time we ever got in contact was through cold water swimming, which
Yeah.
is unassuming to many people, I'm sure. But how did you get kind of like into it, and like, are you still cold water swimming?
Yeah, I had a ice bath this morning, so probably not swimming, but I've got like a fully functional ice bath on my terrace in
Oh, you've
Barcelona.
leveled
Press
it
a
up.
button. Yeah, press a button and it like goes down to like 6 degrees.
Okay, so you really have no, you're a proper ice bather now. No way.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I'm sorry. That's sick. And I love it. Like, I love it. But what is your like main reason for doing it? Obviously, like, recovery is massive with it, but is there other things that you enjoy about like the practice of going in the ice bath?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the obvious one's the recovery. I think it's pretty a generic thing in sport and in football especially, like, oh, you got to get in the ice bath after training. But I like getting in the morning. I think it wakes you up, wakes your body up, your mind, everything. And especially, well, with swimming or with sitting in the ice bath, you can't do anything else anyway. It's not like you can go and start cooking something or thinking about something else. You have to think about what you're doing because you're absolutely freezing. Your mind can't go to all these 100 places and stress. All you're thinking about is controlling your breathing and being in that water and in that moment. So it switches you off from everything.
Yeah, it's like all the reasons I love it too. Just pure presence in a moment, which I feel like is so rare these days, and I can imagine especially for you. Um, what are some of the things that you do before a game? Like, obviously you can't do an ice bath right before a game, but to get like in that zone of just, you're one of, for sure, the most focused players out there. Everyone seems to say it. And how do you get into that space of, okay, like, it's war?
I think I've took like such an opposite approach like throughout my playing career. I think everyone's super focused like the moment they wake up, they're thinking about the game, they're doing this, they're doing that, they have to watch through clips or watch videos, they can't do anything else. Then they get to the game and it's like I have to put my left sock on first, right sock and all this. I feel like I'm the opposite. I'm literally having fun until like the whistle blows. And then even in the game, I think there's moments in the game where I have to just go and collect the football, which is not actually playing football. I almost switch off from it again and then just enjoy the moment. I see even when I walk out with like a mascot, I'm like speaking to the little girl or little boy. Yeah, I think so many people spend hours of like their day being focused on this game, but I just try to use my time to be focused actually in the game. The rest of the time, it's like have fun, enjoy the day, look forward to it, look forward, have fun in the change room, in the tunnel, wherever you are. Like, yeah, I think there's so much energy it takes to be focused and really determined that I just want to do it in the game, and the rest of the time, relax.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true because also until you're at a moment where you have to like make big decisions in like a split second, you're not going to know what decisions those are going to be. So like what's the point almost in worrying about it is until it's there, right?
Yeah, and I think as well, like you can't change what you've done. So on the day of a game, I can't suddenly go, right, I need to go and get fit. Like it's done. You're either
Yeah.
fit or you're not fit. Like I can't suddenly go and get stronger on the day of the game. Like I should have done it 3 weeks ago. So then when it
Yeah.
comes, there's not much you can change for the outcome. You can do what you can do, and the person you play against as well, you can't predict what they're gonna do. So it's just you've done what you've done. Enjoy the moment, relax, and yeah, just give it your all.
Love that. Well, Barcelona, obviously you love it.
Yeah,
Everyone would.
yeah, who doesn't?
How has that move been for you? Like football as well, but also just as like a lifestyle change.
Yeah, I mean, football, it's been a big change. But I think it's for people who know football, even heard about Barcelona, there's a culture within the club, which was amazing to be part of. But just living here, obviously I've lived in France, I've lived in USA, um, and had to deal with different cultures and different things. But coming to Spain and Barcelona, I was very surprised, but I absolutely love it. They've got two languages, which I didn't really realize. Although they speak Spanish, they also speak Catalan, which has been difficult to try and understand two languages. But the sun every day, the beaches around the corner, the food's amazing, everything like that. It's just a relaxing place to be, which I think for me now is really what I wanted. I wanted to be able to focus on football and enjoy the time that I have away from football and relax my old knees and chill in the sun and go swimming in the sea.
Love that. And obviously for playing in different countries, it has a toll on your body, whether it's like cold. Like I know when I've been compete or when I've been surfing in like cold places, my body is hammered. Like I need a holiday after. Do you think just like a more outdoors kind of lifestyle, being there like near the beach, being able to be like outside more in the sunshine more, has had a positive effect on your play as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think on my mentality, on my mindset, and on how I can play and how I feel when I'm playing, I think it's changed everything. The England coach actually said that to me. She was like, "Don't leave Barcelona. The heat's so good for your body." Like I was like, "Well, I'll try." But yeah, I think being able to be outside more, I can, I have a little dog who I can take anywhere with me. Where when I lived in England, it was like, God, I need to get 10 coats on, need to wash her every time she comes in because she's filthy from the rain and the dirt. Whereas now it's like every moment, go and sit outside in the coffee shop, go and sit outside even just on a bench to eat my lunch or something. I think it makes such a difference to how you feel about yourself. And yeah, being more relaxed in the sunshine and walking around, I feel like it's better for my body than being all tense and cold in England and miserable.
Yeah,
No
it
offense to
sucks.
everybody in England.
Yeah, it sucks. Do you think that there has been like a shift in the media? Like I remember growing up and just seeing like not that much representation for going out and being like a sportswoman. And obviously there is like more representation for that, but just the female body being represented in the media in like a stronger way. Do you think that's improved? And how has that been for you in that journey?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same as you. I probably can imagine. I think having been so strong and everything throughout my life, I don't think it was something that was really represented in female sports particularly well. That actually, to be come on, to be a successful athlete, of course you're going to be bloody strong. Like, it makes logical sense, but it's not always the thing that's shown in the media. And I think growing up, there was quite a specific image that was portrayed for female athletes, and I certainly didn't feel like I fit that image. I think I got away from thinking, oh, strong is beautiful. I just thought strong is what I need to succeed, and tried to like cut that other side out of it and not try to think, well, I need to look a certain way because that coincides with, the image of my sport or things. I was I wouldn't say I was really good at doing that, but I think it was helpful that my mum and the women around me always used to say that to me. But as I've got older, obviously the media's changed, but also I've been more successful in my sport, and it's not because of how my image of how I look and how I've made myself look. It's because I'm strong. And off the back of that, I think I've seen things change in sport, in female sport. I think for me, Serena Williams was always someone who I looked at. I remember Kelly Holmes was actually my like inspiration as a young girl, because there was no women on the TV anyway. There were no footballers, and she was the one who went to the Olympics and absolutely smashed it. And she was the strongest person I'd ever seen, and I thought, what? I wouldn't want to mess about with her.
No.
And then I loved tennis, and I was like, Serena Williams is like an absolute animal. But I feel like until like more recent years, she's been celebrated for like strong is beautiful. But it's because she's been so successful. She's almost made people like, she's changed that herself. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, people in the industry went, oh, you're beautiful and you're strong and you're successful. It was like, I'm strong, then I'm successful, and then she got noticed because of that. I think she's someone, for me, who's really changed the image of women in sport.
The fact that I don't know, when I was younger, it was always, you got paid more if you could also model for the brand and you could do these things. And like, I always felt really disregarded as an athlete because I could do those things. And like, that's something that, I don't know, I just feel like is changing so rapidly now. Like, to actually see that people are just getting paid, like properly paid for being sick, like that for me, and seeing that in my own sport, it's like, same as yours, like a relatively male dominated sport in like many ways, and to actually see that women are getting recognition for being like just strong athletes is insane, because it wasn't like that, and like not even that long ago.
No, I mean, I had a conversation in my career when I was fairly successful. I was, being voted in the top 3 players in the world, and having brands say to me, like, you don't fit the specifications of like what it is, and what I'd like. But I was like, but what else do you want from me? I'm successful as an athlete, as a footballer, and that's what you're trying to advertise. But you're saying that I don't specifically fit the look and the image that you want. But surely it's about the success of the athlete. Or if it's not about that, then take a model. That's absolutely fine, because then it's not about the success as a footballer. But don't then take another footballer because of how they specifically fit the image if you're trying to promote success in the sport. I was like, 100%. It doesn't really get a model, that's fine. If that's what you want to model your stuff through models, that's fine. But if you want to model it through successful athletes, then it doesn't really make sense. You can't expect the athlete to be that person, because the model's being paid to be a model. I'm being paid to be a footballer. It's like, there's a crossover, but it's not. You can't like pick the successful athlete and then say, well, you're not the image. Well, the image is success.
Yeah.
But you see it as the image, as in the look of the face or the body, or But obviously, that's changed a lot more now. But I've had conversations like that in my career, and the people telling me are like, I'm so sorry because I don't believe in this either. But it comes from above, kind of thing. It's crazy.
How do they not think there's a market for it? It's just insane. Like, that's the thing that's so wild to me. Like, it's 50% of the population. Anyway, After the Euros, I feel like I definitely saw like a change in just the representation of like football. Like, as I'm, not in like a football world at all. For me, it was like walking past shop windows, seeing billboards. Like, I actually remember driving into London and like seeing a huge billboard of you, and I was like, that's insane. That's insane. Like, that's it. Like, that's the step. And as somebody who, hasn't followed like football at all in my life really, to see that and to be such a like just big representation all of a sudden was like made me super emotional, made me feel like kind of everything I had also been through was kind of being answered through you guys. Did you feel that it was everything that you wanted it to be in that time after, or was it kind of like a bit of a letdown with how things actually were going in the background of it? Because I know there was, a super high you guys had won like the bloody Euros, which is insane. And there was so much just power behind you, I felt like, as a nation and also as just like females across the world. I just want to know, like, did you feel like it has accomplished everything that you thought that it would?
I think it. I think for us, obviously, there's all those things that are actually outside of like winning, which we all think about, and it's in our minds all the time. But because in that moment we were so focused on winning, and it was kind of the back end of COVID, so we were a bit more isolated in our hotel and in the things that we could do. Although we were in England, it was like go to the games, win the games. We want to win the Euros, and then we won the Euros, and it's such a huge accomplishment in our sport that was like what we were really thinking about. And then it was the weeks and months after when we were like, oh my God, what has happened? And even now, like I had an England game a couple of months ago, and like my mum's friends, uh, who she has, they call it a running club, but it's a walking club. Uh, and the one of the ladies come up to me and she was like, I know you probably hear this all the time and stuff, but I thought I just really want to tell you, like, she was like, I'm not really into football, but she was like, I can't believe how much you've changed so many things. Like, even how I feel as a woman in society feels different because you guys won the Euros. I'm like, that's so crazy. Like, but I think I mean, it's something my auntie says to me because my family weren't really into football, to be honest with you. But they're my biggest fans and always have been. And my auntie is very much girl power, has been since the minute I can remember. When I got told I couldn't play with the boys, her and my mum were like, "You can't tell my little girl what she can do just because she's a girl and all this." And my auntie was like, "I can't believe that football would be the thing that like changed so many things for women." When really, when you think about football, especially 20 years ago, it was just a boys' club, men's club,
Yeah.
all for the lads and all that. But I think it's that crossover that makes it work so well because everybody loves football so much. So then to have women be so successful in it, it just kind of brought everybody together and kind of changed the minds of so many people and so many younger people. I think that was the thing. Like, so many little boys now, as well as little girls, watch England women. Like, they have Lucy Bronze on their back or Leah Williamson, or it's not just Harry Kane. It's like some girls have Harry Kane and some boys have Chloe Kelly. It's do what you want. Like, there's women and there's men that you can support and follow, and it's changed so much, which I don't think we ever expected, but it's been more than we could ever have hoped for.
Thank you, honestly, because yeah, it is insane. Like, so many, like, even my mum, she is honestly your number one fan. When I told her I was doing this today, she sent me like a tirade of like questions that she was like, you have to ask her this, you have to ask her this. I'm like, Mum, that's super personal. She's like, what? I want to know her skin routine. She's got such great skin. I'm like, that's so weird, bro. But it's true, and like I think I remember watching the final, and I like fully cried. I like fully broke down in like, yeah, for it to be such a personal thing for women, it was just insane. Like, it, yeah, one of the craziest moments for sure, like of our lifetime in women's sport, that is for sure, or just women's movement in general. I think it was yeah, pretty groundbreaking stuff. Well, that's good. I'm happy that that you girls like feel that, you know, and that you have had the people come up to you and say those things, and that makes me happy, really happy. Um, Aside from all every crazy other thing that you're doing, you're also like a really big supporter of the UN Refugee Agency. What made you passionate about helping raise awareness for this?
Oof. I mean, to be fair, it first started during COVID, and someone got in touch with my agent, and I was like, yeah, like of course I want to support, and I helped make a video. And I had a couple of sponsors at the time who then wanted to help as well, and they got back in touch with my agent and said, like, Lucy's impact and the links that she's had, it's made such a huge buzz, it's made such a huge difference, and I was like, oh my god, as if it's like made that much of a difference. This is really something that I find super interesting, um, want to support, and if I can make a difference, then I'm all for it. And I think it's something, although obviously I'm not a refugee, like I don't have that same understanding, but I think them being so misunderstood, I think particularly in England for me, is something that I kind of relate to, is like how they're misunderstood, and how they just try to change their life and they want what's best for themselves and they try to create a better lives for themselves. I think is incredible and it's so inspiring, and I wish people understood that more, and didn't just see it as, I don't know, what they see in the media, or the generic media, or bad things that they might think or see. I think it's really sad, and a lot of those people don't have their own voice. So I feel like privileged, to be honest, to be able to give them a voice that they should have without someone like me. They should have by themselves, and they should have everything they need to build better lives for themselves. But they're not always viewed that way, so it's really sad. And I absolutely love working with them. I've done stuff in England. I've done stuff in Barcelona, which was amazing. The stuff in Barcelona had all these kids come. They were from all over the world, and they were so excited just to play football for a couple hours. And we ended up staying for like the whole day. And I was hearing some of the stories from like the carers that were there, and I couldn't believe what these kids had gone through, and they were just so happy to be playing football. It was amazing.
I love that. That's sick. Yeah, it's so easy to just like go about your life and like not see those things. So to take like, yeah, it as a privilege is really, really beautiful. So talk a bit like even there about how having a profile, I think, is like having our own individual profiles. I feel like in women's sport is what is really like bridging that gap between the men and the women. Like I feel it now going back into professional surfing that I don't have to abide by the rules as much anymore. And like I can kind of call my shots and be like, hey, I don't want to do that anymore because I'm this person and I have my voice and you're not going to make me conform to what you want me to be. um, you are in a sport that is way more in the public eye, like a million times more. Do you feel that now at this stage that you are in your career of like just such immense success that you are like totally free with like how you are, I suppose? Are you like purely just you, or do you feel that you have to still kind of keep things away from the media and yeah, like how do you navigate, I suppose, that part of it in the media?
Yeah, I think the older I've got, the more I've just felt like just be yourself. I think there's many times that people maybe do things wrong or they try hard to be other things, and at the end of the day, I think the worst thing you could do is try and be what is perceived as a perfect role model or person or whatever it is, because we all make mistakes. At the end of the day, I think the worst type of role model is not to make mistakes, because at the end of the day, if there's little girls and boys who are watching or follow you, they need to see that it's okay to make a mistake in life or in football or in what you say or what you think, but you can learn from it. I've made, like we've said before, there's mistakes that I've made in life and in football, but how am I gonna? You're not gonna suddenly be born and know every answer to everything.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing about football and with women's football for me is because we're in a team. There's so many different personalities that we all kind of like have our own things that we enjoy, but we also share in that. There's been many times, like after the Euros was a great example. It was a lot of Uber Moy who had a real passion about why isn't girls football more in school, and then all of us were like, yeah, why is it not? So then we all got together to do that, and it's like, or the goalkeeper shirts that weren't being sold by Nike, there was the goalkeepers obviously had more of a passion for that, and then all of us went, yeah, of course. So it's like, it's really nice to have a team that you can have so many different passions for, but then we all can support each other. So it's easier to be yourself in that respect, because you do what you love, and you know that there's going to be people who are there to support you, and you don't have to be an advocate for absolutely everything, because we all have different things that we're interested in.
Yeah, that's sick. Like an army of just go-getters. I love it.
Yeah.
It's sick. It's so cool.
I think that's the great thing. What the Euros brought was like, we always had a stage, and then the success meant that we had this voice, and all of us kind of looked at each other and were like, now's our time. It's like, we'll just, like, we have to use it, because whilst we've got it, we need to do something with it. And you could just see that everyone's looking at each other, and even the environment now, when there's something that needs to be changed, it's like, well, let's go. Like, it's not even a question anymore. I think a couple of years ago, it'd be like, we need to be careful about maybe like what things we have to pick and choose, and things like. Whereas now it's like, just go, girls. Like, if there's something we believe in, we've got to go and fight for it, because who else is going to do it if we don't?
Yeah, that's for sure. And do you think, like, I obviously, whenever I look at you guys as a team, I just see complete togetherness, like absolute teamwork, and what you just said really instills that. But do you think that that is what can bring the women's side of the sport to, like, I personally believe it can exceed the men's. Like, I just think everything about it is just so inspiring and like it's just epic. Do you think that the way you guys move as a team is what can, like, just really, yeah, bring you guys to the place and get the opportunities that the men are seeing?
Yeah, definitely. And I think what we've got is, when there's those hurdles put in front of you, or a little bit of adversity, I think it brings people more together, especially when you have the same goal. If there's a goal that you're heading for, and you all have that same adversity, you all try a little bit harder. And I think what we have in the women's game, especially, is that collective voice, that we all care so much about the game and pushing it to the next level. Because, like I said, if we don't do it, we don't know who will.
Mm-hmm.
So then it brings even more of us together, and not just in terms of like an England team, like players all around the world. Like, there's meetings that we have as players with like Mexicans or an Africans, or a Japanese player, but with an English player, but with a Spanish player who maybe lives in Germany. Like, there's all different races and regions of the world that's covered, and we all speak to each other to like have like a bigger message. Because we're in women's football, we've constantly had to fight for everything. So the more we can fight together, the more that we can make change, which you don't tend to see as much in male sport, because there tends to be a path laid out for them of where they're headed. We've kind of got to make the path as we're walking on it.
Yeah, it's so true. You can only keep us down so long. That's for sure. I do. I feel that, like, on a personal level, like, definitely. But I think, yeah, as I said before, you guys just inspired like a whole generation or 5 generations of women, which is just sick. Like, for even old, like older women, like my mum, for instance, for her to feel empowered also. And like, I saw a huge change in her after, like, she started going to the gym. My mum's always been fit, but like, she started lifting weights. She started doing more kind of just strong girl stuff, and she wasn't so bothered about like conforming to like a female, ideology that was there in the media anymore, which I'd always kind of seen from my mum, which then also in turn inspired me more to like go after the things that I just wanted to do. And I think, yeah, that, as much as, yeah, you guys as a team are all together, I feel like women, that is kind of how we move, you know. It has to be in like a pack to, you know, get our voice heard still. And I think that it was just, yeah, it's inspiring on like so many different levels. It's just epic. I love it. I love it. Okay, so in 5 years, do you think that the women's game could be bigger than the men's game?
Oof. In 5 years, I think that might be very difficult. I think it's going in a faster trajectory in terms of like where we were 5 years ago to now is a huge step compared to where the men's game was 5 years ago to now. But at the same time, the men's game is still improving and getting bigger and bigger in other countries as well. So it's like, and equally, we're not chasing the exact same success as what the men's game has created. We're not chasing the same structure that they've created. There's many things in the men's game that are fantastic, that are things that we would love to see more in our game. But at the same time, I think because we're building something, we've got the opportunity to look at a model that's been created and think, how can we make that better or different or more suited to this or that, which is a fun thing. But I think maybe it's not so much trying to chase the success that the men have had, it's just trying to create like this game that we've got and make it the best we can, make it, and not just for England, for example, or the England players, for as many women across the world as we possibly can. How can we make it better for everyone? So it's a big job. So I think 5 years wouldn't be sufficient enough. But in 5 years, I fully expect the game to be in an even bigger and better place than what it is now. Because if you'd told me at 16 everything that's been happening throughout my career, not in terms of to me, but in general, I would have probably laughed in your face.
Yeah, for sure. In mine too, dude. Like it's it's crazy, but it's also crazy that we're still gobsmacked by it, you know? Like
Yeah,
there's sides of it that sometimes I'm like, Laura, you shouldn't be so grateful for that. Like that should have been a given, but I guess positive.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's true. And like, I don't know, what would be okay, like 3 things that you would love to see in your lifetime that the sport kind of like achieved in the women's side?
Um, 3 things. I think a big one for me would be like the support that we get in stadiums. I think it's a bit like what you've just said. Why we are so grateful all the time, and like we always celebrate every time there's a game that's over a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
Like say, I don't know, 30,000, or we fill the stadium. It's still something that we kind of applaud, which is great. But I feel like we're past that point. Like we want to get to the point where that's normal. Like we don't applaud the men's games every time it's over a certain amount of attendance. I think it's something that I'd love to see more regularly in women's football. As an England team, it's something that we've changed for our team. I think Arsenal women in England have set the standard. Barcelona here in Spain, unbelievable. If that could get to a point where it's just like you said, it's not really, it's just a norm, that would change the game massively. The support, I think it would bring in obviously the revenue that people always talk about in terms of women's football. It brings in the advertisement, the broadcasting, the more money that's available, then more resources for the players to improve, coaches to improve, staffing to improve. Like it's just this big circle of everything needs to improve, and it's like we're slowly sparking that by each thing improving by itself. I think the fans coming to the games is something that the atmosphere of that is incredible. Like to be at a game and have that atmosphere is something that players absolutely love and fans do. So that's one thing I would love to see changed. I don't know what the other two would be. It would just be everything that I've just listed.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Everything.
Yeah, all
What
of it.
three things? Everything.
Absolutely all of it. It's just anything we can get, take it. No, it's
Yeah.
sick though, dude. Like it, and it is true. Like there is an element of, yeah, you have to be, grateful for the growth of like women's sport, and this, there is more money in it. Like I can even see just a change in the time that I stopped competing in surfing and now kind of re-entering it in like another way. There is more money on the table for sure. Like there is definitely a big change, but also, yeah, like to be sat here and being like, oh, I'm so grateful for it. No, dude, like we're risking and we're making the same sacrifices that any man are. Like, what's the difference, And it comes down to what you just said, like support, and it then comes down to safety and not having like enough support when it comes to like injuries, or like for us in the big
Hmm.
wave stuff is not having enough money to have like a safety jet ski to pick you up at the end. Like it's safety, like at the end of it, it comes down to that, I think as well. So yeah, it's huge to have the support of the people, definitely, like first. Sacrifice, I don't know if you see it as sacrifice. I purely for sport, like, don't see it as sacrifice. Like, I think I had maybe 5 years of not being in professional sport really, and it taught me that it isn't sacrifice. It's just my pure passion. How do you feel about that? Like, you have been in football for, I suppose, like the best part of your life. And
Yeah.
do you feel that there's ever a time where you were like, damn, I kind of wish I had a bit more time to do this, or when I finish football, like I'm gonna do more of this. What would those things be, do you think, for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the same. I don't ever see football as a sacrifice. I would have done it regardless of whether I was a professional athlete, whether I got paid. Like I went to university and did my degree alongside like playing football at the time because it wasn't professional. Because I was adamant I was going to get a job that meant that I would be able to keep playing football. So it was never about like yeah the sacrifice or the money or what it was. It was I absolutely love playing football. I would do it. I would do it every weekend on a Sunday for free if I wasn't good enough to be playing professional. It's something that I have a passion for since I was 3 years old. Yeah, I mean, there's been times in my life where I think, oh, maybe he's missed out on certain things, particularly with family and friends, because my schedule is what it is. It's not written by me, it's written by everybody else. What time I wake up in the morning and when I have to go to different places. But I think for me, I'm very fortunate that my family, especially, like this, are so accommodating. My brother's wedding was, he made sure that it was not around any football fixtures. That was like one of the key things,
Legend.
which was, yeah, like that was many years ago. And it was, yeah, make sure Lucy can get there. So we'll have to check the football schedule. And I think when I finish my career, like there's plenty of things that I probably want to do, like go traveling more. But I've also traveled so much because of football. Like I said, I've lived in a couple of different countries, learned languages. Um, but I've been to so many countries that I probably wouldn't have specifically chose to travel to myself. But I've had all those different experiences through the sport. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I would say that I've had to sacrifice to play sport because I'm very lucky that my family come and support me no matter what I'm doing and where I am.
Yeah, it's true. It's the best. Like, and also it's so crazy because I don't really feel like it was an option to be a professional female athlete when we were younger. So now to kind of like be able to be that person that young girls can look at and be like, wow, like I can actually live this life and have a sick life, traveling the world, playing the sport that I'm like super talented at. Just that alone is so huge, I think. Just that it's
Yeah, and
even like
I
an
think that
attainable goal.
yeah, and I feel like that's why it's probably like maybe younger players who are playing now maybe think that they're sacrificing something to play, but I don't feel like that because it was never an option. So it was like I, I still did everything, and then it was a dream to be able to play and have everything that I have nowadays is amazing. Whereas maybe younger players think they might have preferred to do something else, but then I think maybe your full passion isn't football. Maybe you might have had a different passion in life, but football is actually an easier route, which is crazy to say that, if you have the talent for it, you might want to be successful in football instead of something else that might not be as attainable because of financial reasons, or you have to do different courses or different training and you already have a natural talent for a sport. Like, that's crazy that you could have that option. But for me, football was the passion. So the sacrifice was, I don't even know what to say. My sacrifice was my family having to take me to training every day. It was their sacrifice, not mine.
Oh my God. Seriously, same for my poor parents, like standing on like a freezing cold, like southwest England beach. Like that's not, that was the sacrifice too. That sucks.
Yeah, my mum tried so hard. It was like that, get you into tennis. I think there was many times where she thought, why didn't she do an indoor sport or like tennis? I could go and sit in a nice like pavilion and stuff, but she's playing football in like the cold and the rain. And youth football, like you play it in the, like there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to sit. Like, whereas now, I guess they can't complain now. I play in Barcelona, so they get free holiday. Comes
Free
back around.
holiday, packed full stadiums. That's what we're talking.
Yeah.
That is sick. That's so cool. They might, and also for them to see like the evolution must be crazy, for like, I don't know, just families to see you go from it being like you said, like a pipe dream to actual reality in, yeah, it's just not even a long time. That's the thing that's so mad to me.
Yeah, I think my family feel it more than like I do because it's my life and I just go through the process every day and I play football and that's my main focus. A bit like the Euros, it was like winning it is the focus. Whereas my mum's like, oh, did you see this on like the internet? Someone did this about you or someone did that. Like, oh, did you see these fans and they've all got your shirts on? And I'm like, I know, Mum. That's normally what happens at football games. But even still now, she tries to show me stuff that like her friend's daughter posted on Facebook. And I'm like, yeah, that's amazing.
Cheers, mum. Good. No, so mum, like the local like newspaper will like do something. I'm thinking, mate, they used to do that when we used to run cross country and we were like in year six at
Yeah.
school. Like, please, come on. That's
I've
so
leveled
funny.
up since then.
Yeah. Don't know if you saw, won the Euros. That is sick, dude. It's nice because they keep you humble. They really just never let you get too ahead of yourself. Like, gotta love family for that. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, I think my mum always had a good story. She took me and some of my friends to like a women's football game when I was a teenager. It was the first game I went to, but it was literally like nobody there. There was probably about 20 people, and it was an Arsenal team that was all the England players at the time. So these were like my heroes, but no one else really knew. So it was that little amount of people there that you could literally just walk up to the player. And one of the players, Rachel Yankee, was like the superstar at the time. We were just walking off the pitch with her after she just played the game. And she said to one of my friends, oh, I really like your socks. And we all went home and was like, oh my God, I can't believe she likes your socks. And my mum was like, do you remember that when that happened when you met Rachel Yankee and she said that she likes your socks? She was like, that's what the little girls and boys do to you now. Like, you need to remember that they're now you in that position. I remember when she told me that and I was thinking, yeah, you're right. I need to, whenever I meet a younger, well, any fan, that was me once and how it
Yeah.
made me feel. Yeah.
And is that like a big part of it for you, kind of being able to be that person that like you needed to kind of see when you were younger? Like, how is that a heavy thing to carry or?
I don't think it is. I think the only thing is like the game's gotten so big
Mhm.
and like before, like that example, it was so easy for that player to interact with me because there was only a couple of us there. Whereas now it's hard to interact with all the
Yeah.
fans that we have. And sometimes it's like you maybe see your shirt or like these signs, and I'm just like, I just don't have enough time in the day to go and see everybody, and I think that is so sad that I'm probably disappointing like little fans that have spent all day dreaming about coming to the game, and maybe he's even just meeting me or another player or a signature, and it's like we can't do that. I think that's like that was a hard thing to get to grips with. As the game changed, it was like we can't give that connection to everybody because there's just
Yeah.
because the game's gotten big and there's so many fans, which is amazing. It's what we want. But equally, there's probably a few people who get disappointed now because there's not.
Mhm.
Like, it's hard to do that as a player.
Yeah, for sure. I guess so that's also kind of where like social media plays like a good and like big part in allowing the fans to feel like they know you a little bit more and like they're a bit more, I guess, connected to you on that level. I definitely feel that that has helped kind of just even be able to get my own personality across in like moments like that. Do you feel, I don't know, is Instagram something that you like to use in that kind of way to like show more personality of like who Lucy is rather than like just the football?
I think a bit of both. I think I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media in general throughout my career. I think there's so many things that it is positive for, and it's for women's sport in general. I think it's been a huge tool because anybody can use it. We've been able to speak about games and events without needing the help of brands and things to advertise. But I think there's that side to social media. It's a very nasty place to get into. So it's hard because there's also that balance of like, yeah, I want to share my personality with people if they want to know me more off the pitch and things. But then it's like, is there like a line where it's like a little bit too much and it's too personal? Because at the end of the day, like I don't actually know these people, and how
Yeah.
much do you want to share with them? So it's not like hiding things. It's just like, yeah, it's sometimes it's a bit strange to like speak to someone who knows so much about you and you don't even know them, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
God, yeah, yeah. Like getting my dog gets recognized in Barcelona, and they're like, oh, hello, Nala, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, social media. It's true. It's such a like a positive in that sense of just representation, isn't it? Like for young girls and guys to see women, in sport or in, other just, I guess, less known kind of like professions and things like that. I think, yeah, you're right. It's been huge for that. But I think also as an athlete, there's an element of like protecting yourself too, and just having some things that are just for you when you kind of give so much as well. It feels like to audiences and fans and all those kinds of things. I definitely understand the need for a bit of privacy.
I think there's that bit as well. Like I think for men's players, it's something that they get a little bit of stick for, I guess, is like maybe not showing their personality as much. But then I think for the men, well, for anybody who's in a high profile, you've got to be so careful because things can get twisted in a different way, especially if it's written media. Because I know there's things that I've said sometimes in an interview, and maybe I've said it with a bit of sarcasm, but when it's written, you can't put in brackets, she's being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think, like, for the boys, it happens a lot where people are like, oh, you don't see their personality. And I'm like, because some of them, it's like they're a bit scared of, like, maybe the words getting twisted or not understanding the thing that they're being asked in terms of questions, not giving the answer that maybe people are expecting, or the opinion and the view. Like, there's so many people out there who are ready to attack for any kind of thing that you might say that gets taken in a wrong way, or you don't mean it the way that you've said it, or you've maybe just got a bit nervous when you've been asked, or yeah, there's that side of it which is puts a little bit of pressure on higher profile people, especially athletes, when our biggest passion is our sport, and we're now educated on many more things outside of a sport that we maybe have a passion towards or is in the media, so you end up getting asked, and it's like there's a little bit of pressure on being able to understand what's going on socially, economically in the world as well.
Definitely. And I think that's also just I probably one of the biggest reasons why athletes struggled so, well, still do, I'm sure, struggled in silence with like mental health and things like that. I personally remember it always feeling like my mental health battles were my weakness. Like that made me weak. And like you don't want to talk about it because the media again can like flip it on their head or whatever. And do you think that of like I think social media has also played a big part, but do you think that within sport the attention to players' mental health has got better like in time or just managed differently?
Yeah, it's definitely got better, um, and managed a lot better. I think there's a lot more people who speak out about it. There's still people who don't want to speak out about it, but then at the same time, that's their prerogative. Like you don't have to share every detail of your life with everyone. I think there's people who are brave and strong enough to say things because they know it'll help others. There's other people who find help themselves, and I think that's the most important thing. But it definitely has changed. Like it's something that's spoken about a lot more openly. There's a lot more help. There's a lot more people who are open to speaking about the struggles that they've been through to try and connect with other people who might be going through them struggles, and not always the I guess the people that you expect. I think Deli Ali was a great example this last year, who's a footballer who has an image on Instagram that people maybe judged a lot, and then he came out with a story, and everyone was just minds were absolutely blown open, like that he was struggling and he was going through some really tough times that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
And I think it really changed their perception, not only on him but on so many footballers. So there's lots of amazing stories like that, and I think it definitely is a subject in an area that's spoken about more, but also there's more help for.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, like you do the ice baths and things like that. What do you do to ensure that you kind of like keep checked in on your like mental and to make sure that you're, yeah, I guess being able to apply yourself to all the things that you do so incredibly well?
Yeah, I mean, there's many things that I do in life that helps me switch off from football. I also speak with a psychologist. I think a lot of people in sport, especially at high level, have psychologists. We have a team psychologist both at Barcelona and at England. Uh, the one at England is someone who I get on really well with, and I speak to her regularly, not only in the good times or not only in the bad times. It's like she even just texted me a couple of days ago and was like, "Oh, how are you doing? Do you want to catch up again?" Like sometimes it's just nice to have someone to talk to who's gonna, yeah, like help navigate through different times. But it's something that I've been pretty open about, and funny enough, something that yeah, at the start of my career, you asked me about psychology, and I'd say, "What a load of." I'd be like, "I don't need a psychologist. What for? I'm fine." And even now, like it's like, yeah, you do feel fine, but I think there's things that are within you that sometimes you just like people just try to push it down because they think, "Oh, it's nothing that." But then these small things just eat away at you, and I realized that talking about it and speaking to someone and getting help, even if things aren't terrible, it just small things can become big things overnight, or something that's small to you might be big to me,
Yeah,
and vice versa. There's not one way to be. Um, I think I've learned that being in a team, that there's so many different personalities, so many different emotions, and so many different things that can affect you. It's not one rule for one, but it's definitely important to speak to people and to connect with someone to make sure you have help to keep yourself in a good place.
yeah, for sure. I actually did one of these episodes with my therapist, and I was thinking, God, this is like
Oh
the
yeah.
most like 2024 thing ever. And it was great. It was good because I was like, she just needs, people need to know this woman. I was like, people need to like understand what it's like to have somebody that you can call up and be like, my life feels like it's all falling apart. Is it going to be okay? And they can be like, yeah, it is. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to get through this. And like, I think for me, just like you said, having somebody that isn't just giving you like unsolicited biased advice that like sometimes my mom or my dad or my brother or like my mates would be like, yeah, you should do this, and like taking their advice, and it confuses you more. I think just having somebody that has studied like just sanity and insanity just makes me feel calmer about making decisions after. So yeah, I get, but I would
I
also
think the
be the
thing with
same.
me as well, yeah, the thing with mine as well is like we've always had different team psychologists, and throughout my career at England, like the three specifically that I can remember, all three of them had completely different personalities themselves.
Yeah.
Like, and there's one that I'd be like, oh, that's not really my cup of tea. But then there was the other two, and then there's one that I just preferred more than, and it's like there's not just one way even to find that help. And I think when people talk about psychologists, they're like, do you have to sit on a sofa and they ask you how was your day? And I'm like, there's so many different ways. Like you just find someone who you can connect with, who you're able to open up and share with. And there's people on my team that have connected more with the other one or this one. And yeah, I think that's something that has been like important for me, not just because I've been able to connect with someone, but seeing that, oh well, that player actually gets on better with that person, and
Yeah,
it's like
no, for
you
sure.
don't have. It's just not one way to do things, and that's fine.
Yeah, and it's so personal. Like I remember the first therapist I ever went to, she was like some crazy cat lady that made me eat like soggy biscuits in her living room. Some people might be really into that. Like I don't know, but that was not doing it for me. But it is true. Like there's just small things that can be triggering for you, and like even just the room before you walk in. Like I remember like little things. I was like, nah, it's done. Like I might as well not even be in here at this point. And then yeah, at some point you find somebody that's right. And I also think it's a timing thing, being ready to accept that you need
Yeah,
help. I'd sat in therapy sessions before and been like, I'm fine. This is a waste of
yeah,
time. Like, I have nothing wrong with me.
that was me.
And like,
It's
but
funny when you say those
brutally
small
adamant.
things. There was one psychologist who was absolutely lovely and fantastic at the job, but every time he came and said hello to me or anyone, always had to touch my shoulder, and I was like, "Stop touching my shoulder!" I just like it was like I don't, and I know it was probably like a thing to be like a comforting thing, but I was just like, I'm not really someone who likes to just be like touched, like yeah, just it was like just a nice firm, and other people were like, oh, like isn't it nice, like when he says hello, and I was just like, no, I don't want someone to touch me, and I could see him
No,
coming, and I'd be like, don't touch me.
no, but
It's
it's
so
true.
pathetic.
No, but it's no, honestly, like I can still remember the smell of the soggy cookie that the woman gave me, and she used to do it every time I got there, and I knew my mum was stood outside, so like I've got to be here as well. This is terrible, but it is. It's like it's personal, isn't it? It's the most personal thing. You're like letting all your secrets and your worries and things out to this person for them to then be like, "You're not mental. You're fine. It's okay."
Yeah.
You need to feel you can trust that person, and yeah, I think that's why I wanted to do that episode, because I was like, well, at least they can see our relationship. We're kind of like mates, and we chat about really
Yeah.
like untherapist-y stuff. And yeah, it was, yeah, she's just a legend. They're great. I think that the fact they can make sense of just such mayhem sometimes is a
Yeah.
really beautiful thing to be able to do. So yeah, therapists. I was wondering, yeah, therapists. I wonder like what they go home and think though after. I always ask that. I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like
Do
worried
you
about
need
her.
a therapist?
Yeah, no, it's silly.
Yeah.
But no, I don't. Okay, so the final question. I ask everybody this at the end, and it's, what one piece of advice would you have if you were over the table from 15-year-old Lucy? And yeah, what one bit of advice?
To always believe in yourself, even when other people don't. I think that's carried me through my career. And maybe it's come off to different people as a different thing, but it was like there's many parts of times where I think I didn't really fit a mold in certain teams, or certain coaches don't like you, like the way you play, or yeah, it's like if no one else believes in you, at least you can believe in yourself. And being competitive is a good thing.
Yes.
I tell every little girl that, not even just myself.
Absolutely. 100%. Both of those, I love those. And they like, yeah, the competitive thing is so true, because I feel like I was drummed out of being competitive. Like that's not that's not pretty. Like being competitive is not pretty. Dude, I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck, bro.
Yeah.
Like
I was so lucky that my mum, she didn't send me to university. I went to university in America at 17. I was super competitive as a kid, like with my brother, who's 2 years older, super competitive. And in England, it was like, you're too competitive. And I would be like, obviously, I'd be thinking, that must be a thing. Went to
Mhm.
America and they were like, too fucking competitive. No such thing. You're not competitive enough. And I was like, right, then let's go. Completely changed the course of my whole life and career. I think in England, my whole career in England, all the other girls were like, you're too competitive. And I was like, I don't care. But it was because I had that experience in America where they were like, no, it's like, it's good to be competitive. It's cool to be competitive. And to have that reassurance, I was like, yeah, it is.
I think it scares people, honestly. I think it scares people. I think when they see a woman that knows exactly what she wants and then knows she's gonna get it, I think it freaks people out. Like they're not ready for that stuff still. But they're gonna get it anyway. I love that. That was sick. Great advice. Thank you so much. This has been epic, and I'm so grateful for you taking the time out to talk to me on my little podcast. But yeah, Lucy Bronze, thank you very much for coming on Don't Be a Coop.
Thank you.